SportsBeat is brought to you by Ken Garth. We hear you.
SportsBeat is live. A half hour of local sports coverage ahead, including great news for BYU football fans. Potentially, a replacement team for Utah could be added to the schedule, and it's a big-time program.
Yeah, plus the Utah Jazz continue to prepare for the NBA restart in Orlando. Donovan Mitchell tells us what part of his game he's improving, and Thurl Bailey has a conversation with NBA legend Isiah Thomas.
All right, now moving on to BYU. Now, they had some scheduling issues we had to clear up, right? Not playing Utah in the first game because the Pac-12 is not playing a full schedule. They're going to play a conference-only schedule. They announced that last week. The Big Ten did the same thing as well. So after losing 4 September games, it seems Tom Homo and BYU are recovering quickly. How about this? Matt Zenitz of AL.com, who covers Alabama football, is reporting that the Crimson Tide are closing in on a new Week 1 opponent. That opponent is BYU. They would replace USC on Alabama's schedule in the season opener, a game that was scheduled to be played in Arlington, Texas at AT&T Stadium. If the SEC doesn't move to a conference-only schedule, and if college football, of course, happens, BYU versus Alabama is a strong possibility, according to the report. Now, if it happens, this would be the second meeting all time between the Cougars and Crimson Tide. The first and only meeting took place in Tuscaloosa on September 5th, 1998. Alabama was powered by their star running back, Sean Alexander. He rushed for 115 yards and 5 touchdowns. After falling behind 24-7, the Cougars would rally to tie it. Kevin Federick connected with Tavita Ofahangawe for a 10-yard touchdown before halftime. Then Reno Mahe will score from 6 yards out in the third quarter. An Owen Pochman field goal tied the game at 24. But the future NFL star running back for Bama was just too much for the Cougars defense. He scored twice in the fourth quarter, including this incredible run. BYU lost 38-31. Rob Morris was outstanding on defense for the Cougars, 13 tackles, 10 solo, and 2 sacks. So how about that? If Alabama and BYU play a season opener, that would be a lot of fun. Now to the NBA. We're just 12 days away from the NBA restart in Orlando when the Utah Jazz face the New Orleans Pelicans, and just 5 days away from watching the Jazz on the court again.
Yeah, the Jazz, they'll get their feet wet again with a scrimmage against the Phoenix Suns on Thursday, July 23rd. One of 3 scrimmages before the games actually begin to count. Now, whatever happens in Orlando for the Jazz will largely depend on what happens with Donovan Mitchell on the basketball court. He's young, but he's the leader of this team. The Jazz need his pull-up jumpers, his explosive dunks, and his three-point shots. But Donovan tells us it's going to take a little more than that from him for this team to succeed.
Becoming a better passer. I think that's our more willing passer. I think getting into the lane, obviously, get there, and take certain shots, whatever. But I think being able to find my teammates, especially with Bojan being out, we're going to need guys to kind of pick it up and kind of pick up the slack that he had. So for us, like for me, obviously take the shots that I can get, but also being able to find my teammates, getting them easier looks, which will then also come back and make it easier myself. But being able to do that, I think will not just help me for where we are now, but help me for years upon my career.
Donovan Mitchell is only 23 years old, completing his 3rd NBA season, but it's clear the Utah Jazz look to Donovan as a team leader and need him to play like one in Orlando. A leadership role is something Donovan embraces as he tries to reach his potential as an NBA star.
I think the biggest thing for me is not allowing, the name I've created on the floor and off the floor to kind of affect the work that I've been doing, continuing to work on my game and get better as a teammate, better as a leader, better as a player in so many different ways. I think that's really where it starts because, it's easy to kind of get what I've been able to be given at an early age and early in your career and kind of just, chill, and I think I try to do the exact opposite and just kind of just focus and focus on myself in the game and let everything else kind of flow the way it has been. I've been blessed to, to been granted with an opportunity as a rookie, unfortunately I seized that opportunity and I've been kind of going with it ever since. But yeah, you're right. I've kind of honed in as trying to be the leader of this team and going out there and just leading these guys any way I can, whether it's meals, it's gaming, it's on the floor, pick and roll, defense, like whatever it may be. Just kind of going out there and just trying to be the voice because, you know, at the end of the day, yeah, I'm 3 years in, but I kind of see myself as a little bit more than that. And I think that's really where my head is at, you know, not really thinking about, wow, you know, I've been able to get all this. I appreciate it and I'm blessed, but, you know, the team that we're playing doesn't really care about that. Honestly, it's about going out there and getting wins and being the best player and being the best teammate I can be.
We've heard several Jazz players and head coach Quinn Snyder address what they need to do to overcome the absence of Bojan Bogdanovic. George Niang, he's one of those players that the team will need to lean on a bit more, but he hasn't been a full participant in practices since the team arrived at the bubble in Orlando. So why is that? Well, George answers that question for us.
Just rolled my ankle, you know, so we were just taking precautionary steps. I mean, we don't play for another 14 days, I think it is, so just taking it slow, getting in there to get to full speed. Coach also said I was kicking too much, so had to take it easy.
George is always great. Plus, you know what? I want that Donovan Utah Stars hoodie.
Oh, no kidding.
How do I get one of those?
That's red hot.
Those are awesome. 50th anniversary next year, by the way, the Stars championship. All right, the Orlando experience is going to be different for all 30 NBA teams, including the Jazz. There will be no such thing as a home court advantage. Yeah, there were two things the Jazz have always been able to count on. Yeah, when playing home games, they play teams at elevation, right? That's an advantage. And playing in front of some of the loudest fans in the NBA, if not the loudest. But neither will be an advantage on the neutral court in Orlando. Playing without fans will be an adjustment, but Donovan says it won't change the way the best players in the world will play the game of basketball.
You're really just going to see what guys talk about an open gym. And honestly, everybody's so worried about the trash talking. There's a lot of, like, just jokes being made on the floor. And obviously, with come playoff time, that kind of goes out the window. But it's going to be weird at first. But at the end of the day, we've all played pickup in empty gyms. And I feel like that's what it's going to feel like as far as talking to each other. But there'll be some things that'll pick up and definitely allow for, you know, you guys to kind of run with and have fun with, because it's just the nature of the game. But I don't think it'll be any different at all.
The Jazz have announced their jersey schedule in Orlando. Pelicans Association jersey. Thunder Association. Lakers city jersey. Grizzlies Purple Mountain. Spurs Purple Mountain. Nuggets city edition. Mavericks Association and Spurs icon. Notice one color of jersey is missing as we show you these. Yes, it's the yellow jerseys. The only way to end the yellow jersey curse is to never, ever play in those jerseys again.
Maybe a postseason bonfire with them, right? I don't know if I've ever been more excited for an exhibition game than I am for the three that are coming up. The Jazz announced that those three scrimmages in Orlando will be broadcast on TV, on AT&T Sportsnet, and on the radio on the Zone Sports Network. The Jazz take on the Suns Thursday, July 23rd, the Heat on the 25th, and the Nets on the 27th before the restart opener July 30th against the Pelicans.
And more, of course, from the Utah Jazz.
Including a teaching moment that we get from Quinn Snyder and a Utah Jazz rookie.
Y'all want racial equality. We all do. I don't understand how insulting another group helps our cause.
Anti-Semitism in sports. Two legends speak out on the topic.
I never knew that he had any personal feelings for me the way that he showed in The Last Dance.
Plus, a conversation with Thurl Bailey and Isiah Thomas. What did Isiah think of the way the Pistons were depicted in The Last Dance documentary, as well as his rivalry with Michael Jordan and the Bulls? Don't miss it.
Welcome back. Recent events in this country have caused many of us to take a look at the way society and ourselves treat others. The struggle many people of color in this country face dealing with racism is one example. Some controversial comments recently by famous entertainers and athletes have also reminded us that anti-Semitism is an issue in our society. Utah Jazz point guard Justin Wright Foreman retweeted a tweet that was supportive of anti-Semitic comments made by entertainer Nick Cannon. Justin has since deleted the retweet, and after the Utah Jazz practice Friday, he had a chance to address the issue and apologize.
I would like to apologize for my retweet. I wasn't educated enough on the topic, and Therefore, I just wanted to say that I apologize. I did not mean to offend anybody, and those are not my beliefs and values.
He's very aware, painfully aware that he made a mistake, and I think it's something that he's remorseful about. It won't happen again. And again, the issue of education for all of us is paramount.
Well, two NBA Hall of Famers spoke up this week on the need to speak up against anti-Semitism. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wrote an op-ed in The Hollywood Reporter asking where is the outrage over anti-Semitism in sports in Hollywood. He called out Ice Cube, Deshaun Jackson, Steven Jackson, Nick Cannon, and others. And Charles Barkley also spoke up this week.
Listen, Deshaun Jackson, Steven Jackson, Nick Cannon, Ice Cube, man, what the hell are y'all doing? Like, y'all want racial equality. We all do. I don't understand how insulting another group helps our cause. And the only person called y'all on it was Kareem. We can't allow black people to be prejudiced also, especially if we're asking for white folks to respect us, give us economic opportunity, and things like that. I'm so disappointed in these men, but I don't understand how you beat hatred with more hatred. That stuff should never come up in your vocabulary, and it should never come up in your heart. I don't understand it. I'm never going to accept it. And I'm asking you guys, I'm begging you guys, man, you guys are famous. You got a platform. We got to do better, man.
When SportsBeat comes back, Thurl Bailey talks one-on-one with one of the 50 greatest basketball players of all time, Isiah Thomas, on the program next. With the NBA restart, teams are allowed to have 17 players on the roster down in Orlando. With the absence of Bojan Bogdanovic, the Jazz, they've got 16. That includes 6 players that did not have NBA experience prior to this season. Those players are Juwan Morgan, Mie Oni, Rajon Tucker, Nigel Williams-Goss, Justin Wright-Foreman, and Jarrell Brantley. Those 6 guys combined average just 3 minutes played per game over a combined 50 games this current season, I guess I should say. Not much experience there. But what they've been adding to the team while in Orlando so far has not gone unnoticed.
And it's tough. You know, you come into a position where, you know, throughout the majority of the year, you don't play much, and then you get down here, and you never know when your opportunity may come. So I think it's tough to kind of keep and stay locked in, but they've done a great job of that.
They're very professional. They've been giving 200% every time they get on the court, and they're pushing us, the little older guys, to be, you know, to get better every day.
All right, now The Last Dance documentary featuring Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls dynasty of the 90s was a must-see TV during the pandemic. The rivalry between Jordan's Bulls and Isiah Thomas's Detroit Pistons was a central focus in the early episodes. Well, in this week's Thurl Talk podcast, the Utah Jazz great Thurl Bailey, he has a conversation with Thomas about that rivalry and how it was portrayed in the documentary.
I never had a chance to to really peek behind the curtain in terms of what the Chicago Bulls interworkings were like from a team standpoint. You always play against the opponent when they come out of the locker room, but you never really know what's going on inside the locker room. Being able to see him in the Chicago Bulls from that vantage point gave me a totally different look from a competition standpoint of the people that we were competing against. I was surprised to see they had so much dysfunction in-house. Mm-hmm. I was really shocked at the relationship that they all personally had with Jerry Krause. As a team, you always thought that they were so well connected, but then when you hear the interviews and everything else, you see that there was a lot of disconnect. I was shocked to hear his personal feelings that he had towards me, because I never knew that. Right. I just thought that, again, it was the Pistons against the Bulls, and at that time, I looked at Magic and Bird those were the two people that I was chasing in terms of trying to win championships. At that particular time, you know, we were beating Chicago pretty soundly. And I'm not trying to downplay it or anything, but it did make me go back and look at, you know, our head-to-head competition.
Yeah.
And was I mistaken in terms of my recollection? And, you know, head-to-head competition, you know, my record against him, you know, was 37-16 up until 1991 when I had career-ending wrist surgery.
Right.
You know, we didn't socialize or anything because back then, you know, you played the game and you went home.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, so I never really got to know him. So I was really surprised, you know, to hear the way he felt about me personally, because I've never really interacted with him in the times that I have interacted with him. Even after we were done playing, was always cordial, you know, was always professional. And, you know, like any of us who are former players, when we see each other, we give each other respect and love.
That's
and
right.
and then you keep moving. So I never knew that he had any personal feelings for me the way that he showed in The Last Dance.
The Major League Baseball season begins this week on Thursday night with 2 games, a full schedule on Friday. One team will be looking for a place to play, the Toronto Blue Jays. The Canadian government will not allow the Blue Jays to play in Toronto due to COVID-19. Buffalo and their spring training site in Florida are alternative sites for consideration. Their home opener is July 29th. We have Nationals and Phillies today in exhibition ball. Former New York Yankee Didi Gregorius with a homer. Now a member of the Phillies takes Max Scherzer deep. A 3-run homer by Bryce Harper. It's the best of his old teammate, Max Scherzer.